Welcome to the Rock Guitar Confidential Podcast with Ryan and Scott. You know, as a man of refined tastes, I take image very seriously. You want to know how to be great like me? Keep listening. I like reacting to things. That's good. You know?
Yes, reacting.
Because nobody on the internet's ever done any reaction.
No, never.
That's never happened.
We're absolutely pioneering.
We're breaking new ground right now.
We're pioneering the genre.
Yeah, exactly. Like much like the pioneers did.
Yes. I mean, well, we haven't gotten to the cannibalism part, which sucks because there's only two of us.
It's coming. Well, no.
So hopefully not. We'll
hopefully
have to.
Not, yeah.
We'll wait until we have a guest on.
There's other. I am a vegetarian though, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage on that one.
Oh, dude, you would have been fucked in the Donner Party.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I'll be the first one to go. I'm like the Star Trek guy at the red T-shirt or red shirt, not red T-shirt. Like, why does the guy got a T-shirt on? This is Star Trek. What the hell?
They'd be like, Scott, could you go ahead and carve up the butt cheek here? Where's Scott? Where is Scott? And you'd be out collecting nuts and berries.
Exactly. I would actually survive though. That's the thing. I'd build myself a snow cave and stuff, and you know, while the other ones eating each other and having the worst things possible happen. You know.
Well, while the rest of the party is like reenacting a Cannibal Corpse album cover.
I like how the Donner Party would be reenacting something that doesn't happen for like 100 years in the future. But
dude, imagine it. Well, so like
those guys are amazing, dude. They totally knew Cannibal Corpse is going to happen. In the 80s.
Sounds like the subject of the debate, the debut album of a band made up of like ex-Iron Maiden and Cannibal Corpse members. Right? It would have like the whole historic angle.
Super group of cannibal historians.
Cannibal Maiden. Right?
Damn it, that'd be like too tempting. Like, oh my god, that chick's hot, but she's a cannibal. So what do I do?
Actually, like Iron Corpse is kind of a cool band name.
That is a cool name.
Roll with that.
That doesn't make sense though. Like, how could that be an Iron Corpse?
Because you made one out of iron.
But would it be a corpse? I can't live. It's
well, I mean, maybe there was a corpse.
And you turned it into iron,
and you like made it
of some sort.
Oh, it'd be like plastination, like where they take your corpse. Like I actually downloaded the submission form for this. So when they have like the bodies on display that they're plastinated, so it turns
you
the
mean like
body into plastic.
Like they have the sort of
like body worlds.
Yeah, they'll have like almost like a historic what the hell
well, okay, it's usually used for like medical research, but this artist Günther von Hagens.
Yeah, it's like they do like these things at like museums and stuff.
Yeah, there's like a traveling museum display, so you can like
look at dead bodies.
Confront your own mortality.
Oh, how fun! Hey kids, you know what we're doing on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah,
and there'll be ice cream after.
Hey kids, want to come learn that the self is an illusion? Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, I think they're totally ready for that. And then we watch Bluey when we get home.
They should like plastinate Bluey.
They will.
Like, dude, they could have a whole kids section where they like have a vivisected like Bluey from Blue's Clues, so you can see like his brain and digestive system and stuff. That'd be awesome.
Bluey and Blue's Clues are two separate things. Blue's Clues is from the early 2000s. Bluey's a relatively new thing. It's about his dogs and puppies that are from Australia. And
dude, I'm so glad I don't know any
all
of
the
this.
Toddlers are into it right now.
I'm so fucking glad.
But Blue's Clues is like when my kids were toddlers. That's from way back when.
It makes my black heart smile that I don't know any of this.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's great.
You're missing out a little bit, man. There's some very sweet memories.
Right. I love you, man, but anyway. So
just you and I have very different experiences in that front.
True, and that's fine. Yep. That's totally okay. Okay, so.
Okay, you have something terrible that you're going to lay on me now that you've talked about your black heart.
Okay, so apparently. So the headline reads, "Why was Lil Wayne not picked for the Super Bowl halftime show?"
I don't know. Why wasn't he?
Snap! Can you believe it? I can't believe Lil Wayne wasn't selected for the Super Bowl halftime show.
So far ahead of their time musically is that I can't believe it.
I know. I'm shocked.
But they picked that Kendrick Lamar one. I think it's the one who's doing it, right?
I mean, I guess so. I don't know.
I don't know that.
It's not Lil Wayne. I know, so
but I was hoping.
What a travesty!
His EVH guitar and then show everybody what it's what.
Right.
This is how real guitar playing goes down.
I mean, there's only one way to like. There's only one way to ratchet things up after having Nuno Betancourt like, pretend to play guitar
Stand
at the
there,
Super Bowl.
yeah, next to Rihanna and whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at least he played on the albums, I think. So you are hearing the sound of Nuno Betancourt play guitar.
Yeah, Nuno Betancourt,
which is
now
always a good thing.
He's kind of, speaking of that, he's become sort of like a guitar model. He's like Lenny Kravitz. He's very similar to Lenny Kravitz in the sense that he's actually a good musician, but he's like, Nuno's a freaking great musician. But
Nuno's next. Lenny
got
Kravitz hasn't had a good album in decades.
He was a guy who's responsible for some good rock and roll. He was actually a good.
Yeah, Mama Said was fucking great.
At one point, dude, Are You Gonna Go My Way is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's also totally. Let Love Rule is awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool Lenny Kravitz stuff. But he's also like a dude who's just impossibly cool looking, just the coolest looking dude ever. And
True.
And same thing. This is the coolest looking dude. It's like you built a guy in a lab to look cool playing guitar,
like a rock star. Yeah,
that's exactly what you would want.
Agreed.
And that's why those guys are there. It's because they look amazing.
Yep.
Which brings us to our topic today.
Yes, our topic today. I feel like I was going to say something else witty there, but I forgot. So our today's topic,
man. But if you knew what I was going to say,
right, dude,
it would have blown your mind.
You'd all be cracking up right now. Oh no, I wasn't going to say something witty. I was just going to rip on Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz has harmed no one.
Okay, no, he has.
He wears leather pants and sunglasses when working out.
I never need to hear American Woman. Lenny Kravitz, it's fucking horrible.
I didn't need to hear it after the original.
It actually made me sad that Lenny Kravitz didn't why not give us another kick-ass, awesome, retro style rock song?
The answer to that we'll talk about on a future podcast is probably because of the producers wanted him to do something that's like a hit that they could redo, and then
auto-tune.
It's going to be it's the hit song. We'll just do it again. Everyone wants to hear Lenny Kravitz sing "American Woman,"
and then we'll auto-tune the shit out of it, so the harmony sounds super thin.
James Bond movie or something on the end credits or something like that, or that's what it is. It's not about dude.
I know, dude.
What's funny is that, and this is actually
today's topic.
Today's topic is image in rock, and how it can sort of make or break a career. It can actually hurt a career in some cases because some people are seen as being all image and no substance, whether that's true or not. And then losing out on gigs because your image is wrong. So it's so funny. I actually saw this one clip on YouTube the other day, and it really struck. I mean, we talked about this in this podcast before, but that music is not the product. So what you're selling isn't your skill or your craft. It's really a package that inexorably packaged with your image. If your image is such, it doesn't even matter if you're just mediocre as a player. You are going to get opportunities because your image is great. If you're amazing but you have no image, then you're not going to get opportunities because it's got to be packaged together. Those things have to kind of go. And as much as we'd like to think of guys like Hendrix and Van Halen and Jimmy Page, undeniably their image was a huge part of their success. The fact that they looked so the part. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? If they just had looked like just a Jim from accounting but still played every bit as good as Van Halen, they would have never made the impact that they did.
Dude, Leslie West from Mountain was hugely influential before MTV.
Yeah.
But a
band like Savatage too. Like Savatage, one of the reasons they switched singers is because they just felt that the front man, John Oliva, was not front man worthy. He wasn't he was a great composer, songwriter, singer. He was perfect.
Yeah, but he was a chubby dude.
But he wasn't like a guy who had the look. So they went and got Zach Stevens, who is he's a great singer and had made really great records with the band. He had more the lead singer look that they wanted.
Yep.
And that's something that the band felt that they were held back because they didn't have that big image lead singer guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time. Like how many? Well, I mean, like Skid Row, right?
Yeah, but they didn't blow up until they got Baz.
That's my point.
Yeah,
that's my point. How many bands were moving along with their original lineup, and then had to switch singers to chase an image.
Yeah, exactly. And then I remember. When Whitesnake was looking for people, I guess John Klaudner did an interview when he was talking about putting people around David Coverdale, and he's like, we need guys that have a certain kind of look, and the guys that they picked obviously were all fantastic musicians.
Dude, I love Adrian Vandenberg, man.
Vivian Campbell is no slouch himself either, and then obviously Steve Vai and John Sykes, all those guys are amazing musicians.
Right, but the original Whitesnake guy, Mickey
Moody, and
Mickey
Marsden,
those guys.
Well, those guys are great players.
But
they're very 70s fog hat looking, like mustache band kind of.
Yeah. Mustache rock.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that wasn't what they wanted. They wanted the 5 rock stars, basically. You know what I mean? And so they had Tommy, and then eventually they found Neil Murray wasn't rock starry. He was just too English working class kind of looking dude. They brought in Rudy Sarzo because he had the look. You know what I mean? And
nobody can lick the neck of their bass guitar quite like Rudy.
I'll give Rudy credit though. He's a solid bass player. He's not
totally
He's an unspectacular bass player, but he's a very solid bass player and a great performer. Fantastic performer. You know what I mean? So you got to give him his flowers.
Seems like an all around nice guy too. too.
I don't know. He might murder puppies in the night. I don't know what he does, but he seems like a good musician. I'll give him that. I can't.
I hope he. I mean, look, he can murder whatever he wants, just not puppies or kitties. Children, fine. But,
no.
Ah!
But looking at guys, but that. As much as we like to think, okay, those guys were all great players, and they were, a lot of why they got those gigs were that their look was right.
Yeah, the look, right.
Yeah, exactly. And then this was particularly true during the height of the MTV era. Now that more from the 80s kind of hair metal-y kind of thing to like the pop punk, need to have like blonde or pink spiky hair with like tattoos and nose rings, playing a crappy like Jag Stang or something like that and looking sad, to like the guys with the dreadlocks, that kind of thing. And I think that kind of became a thing. And then in the early 2000s, you had to be like, like almost like Viking, like unshaven, unwashed sort of.
Well, the early 2000s was like the white guys in dreadlocks. If you're talking about like the Korn thing.
Well, yeah, but that's later though. We're talking about the Lamb of Gods, the sort of
the metal,
the metalcore sort of new wave of American heavy metal bands. They kind of all look like these sort of disheveled sort of like.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an aesthetic in a variety of genres of hard metal.
Yeah.
Like I'm like a t-shirt and jeans Viking.
Yeah, exactly. And walking that fine line between rock star and homeless band. That's kind of that's kind of what it is. If you weren't like coming to play the show, they'd be like, okay, let's get this guy out. Oh wait, you're the bass player. Okay, come on, Ed.
As opposed to the '90s, which was just homeless man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, because these like people who are like posing like they're punks, but they're really just like suburban white kids. You know what I mean?
I mean that's been happening since like 1983.
I know, but like there was the height in the late '90s, like when that was the thing. Let's see how many tattoos and nose rings we can get, and let's get weird spiky hair, and it's always been about image. And so except for I would say pre-MTV, then it was like you could kind of you had like we talk about the mustache bands, like a lot of those great '70s bands, like your Foghats, your Kansases, those bands were really about the substance of the music was way more a mountain. There's so many bands like that were sort of Zeppelin, had the image, but there wasn't any way to really see them other than on album covers. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and Hendrix, was obviously an iconic performer. He would get like the news, like the 5 o'clock news, to come and take pictures of what he was doing.
And photo shoots and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And then if you went and
covers
saw
of Rolling Stones,
yeah,
that kind of thing. So then the image was part of it. Beatles, the image was definitely part of it. But there was a time there where if you're just a great musician, you could sort of carve out a career without. I mean, there's a lot of examples of people who are not like. Lookers. I don't think Ozzy Osbourne's like going to blow you away with his great looks. Elton John is not going to agree with great looks. You know what I mean? That's
one of my favorite. Like when a student's into like 60s rock, right? Where the image is like.
I haven't come across that very much, but I'm sorry that you have.
No, it's okay. it's we've had fun with it. So it's like the bands were all the somethings.
Yeah.
Right, like California Sun by the Rivieras.
The Guess Who. Yeah, exactly.
No, well, this is even before the Guess Who. I'm going like early 60s.
Oh, okay. Way out.
Yeah, I'm going like Super Square.
You're
like
off the
everybody
grid
in
for
the
me,
band.
man. I don't even know anything about it. That's off the grid. I mean, nothing before 64 do I believe even pay attention. Well, no, that's not true. Elvis, Chuck Berry. Like Jerry Lee Lewis, those kind of things.
So this is like the rock and roll that was like sanitized, like 5 clean cut white boys, all wearing suits and ties.
Yep.
Like there's
the Vandals or something like that.
Let me see if I can find a picture here. I'll show you what I mean. So one of my favorites is
we're talking like 60, 61 kind of stuff, right? Like way early.
Yeah, to where like the cultural so like any decade's cultural hallmark, it always starts a few years into the decade and lasts a few years into the
early 60s may as well be the late 50s. It's kind of the same, you know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah. So what we consider to be the 80s is really kind of like
78 through like the 91, something like that.
I would say like 82 to 92 in terms of the look, the image.
Oh, sure, yeah, the fully formed. Yeah,
like the fully formed, like what we really think, like if you were like smack dab in like 85, 86, 87,
yeah,
right?
91 I would say is like where that was the end stage of that,
Right, exactly. But it always lasts a couple years into the next decade. It doesn't start until a couple years.
I really consider the start of the 80s to be like 78 when Van Halen came out. That to me is like when the 70s started becoming the 80s, you know what I mean?
Well, agreed.
And Quiet Riot and Ozzy's solo band and stuff like that, 78, 79, 80, that kind of period,
Like the overall image doesn't coalesce.
Yes, it wasn't fully formed.
Right, it was just beginning, right? It was, So
it was moving away from the mustache. Mustache fell out of favor in the late 70s for some reason.
Yes.
By the way, I'm actually disturbed to find that mustaches are coming back. I don't understand who's responsible for this.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
Well, I've been seeing a lot of reverse mortgage ads with.
Did you know that you can pull out $30,000 from your mustache?
Yeah, Tom. So Tom Selleck is hawking reverse mortgages,
Of course,
on all the news channels, and so I imagine that's probably why the resurgence of Magnum PI.
Magnum PI is going to help us get money out of our house with no cost to us. Use it for whatever you want.
So here's what I mean. Okay, cool. I guess it wants us to actually listen to this song here.
No,
I
I
know.
won't do what you want.
After sitting through some ads here, I'm not going to give YouTube my money. So here we go. So this is what I'm talking about. There's that Buddy Holly turnaround.
Man, that chord progression has never been done before. They're breaking new ground.
Okay, and that's pretty much the whole song. Oddly enough, it's an instrumental, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because people actually had more time to listen to music back then. They actually would listen to an instrumental song.
But look at these four clean-cut young men in suits.
Yep.
The name of the band is The Rebels.
So those guys are way rebels, man. Look at that.
Dude, and the name of the song is Wild Weekend.
I don't think that guy even has a double Windsor on his tie.
Dude,
So,
look
I mean,
at the looks on their faces. They look at this guy over here on the right.
You know what? This is not a visual medium. You know this, right?
I know. So I encourage all of our listeners to go out and bring up just a stock photo of the band The Rebels
From 1963.
and ask yourself which one of these guys is snickering because he knows that they killed a hooker at last weekend's bachelor party.
Well, I mean, why did it have to just be then? It could be any. They probably every weekend kill another hooker. You know, it's just,
They were the Rebels.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had wild
go
weekends
from
all the
town
time.
to town.
Okay, so if you just, listen to the song that I just played, does that sound like the soundtrack to a wild weekend?
You know what? I was just going to say, though, the guitar had a little bit of crunch in it. Tiniest little bit. Like
a little
hint of
overdrive.
crunch. You know what I mean?
It's soaked in reverb.
Which back then must have sounded like, freaking, like thrash metal to them. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, listen to that loud guitar. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Oh my God. It's
Right.
like, look at those Beatles with their long hair. They weren't ready for that shit, man. Can you imagine if Cannibal Corpse came out in like 1961?
Dude, that would be great. That would make my life.
Can you even imagine like what the reaction would have been?
Yeah,
You
just
know what I mean?
playing like Hammer Smash Face on Ed Sullivan.
You guys aren't ready for shit. But
Yeah, totally, dude. That'd be so great.
I'm sure that would be a massive hit. I'm sure all the teenage girls would be throwing their panties at them. It's like,
Well, see, that's the problem with death metal. That's why I got out of the scene, in my 20s.
okay,
I didn't want to just play for crowds of sweaty dudes.
yeah, I know. Well, unfortunately, if you're playing metal nowadays, unless you're playing unless you're Def Leppard or something, you're playing for crowds of sweaty dudes. Yeah, this is what you do.
Well, yeah, the Avenged Sevenfold.
there
That's
are
probably
chicks at that show.
know.
There's chicks at the Five Finger Death Punch show. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you just have to be a little melodic, which
you
I
have-
prefer anyway.
And to have hooks too, and that's something that
Right.
I feel like thrashiness and heaviness for the sake of heaviness without hooks is kind of
You mean 100% testosterone fueled music isn't
exactly.
appealing to women
Well,
generally?
yeah. And also
generally.
it doesn't appeal to me either. As much as I want to hear hooks and melodies.
even
it's-
like Arch Enemy, they've great hooks,
yeah,
man.
even the Testament, massive hooks in that band. Even Megadeth, great hooks. You know what I mean, there's you could be super heavy and still have hooks.
Yep.
I can't just be all aggression. It just sounds like a teenager having a fit in a bedroom, like
You
throwing.
can have
things.
hooks on chains like Pinhead from Hellraiser.
But
So-
that is a good example, though, too, of what we're talking about. Image, like all the popular rock and roll bands. Even look at Chuck Berry. Those guys, full suit tie, that whole thing. The idea of not doing that was not you shouldn't go on television without a suit on.
Right.
That kind of thing was insane. That just sort of, even the Beatles, like early Ed Sullivan, there was like all toll suits. You know, it's like that. It just wasn't seemly to go on television without a
suits and
suit.
skinny ties.
Exactly.
You know,
and then eventually that just sort of like, I think that's why when you got into the late '60s and it became like, you know, the bell bottoms and like the unbuttoned shirt, like the Robert Plant sort of thing, it was seen as so dangerous and transgressive because it's like, this was like, you're on television but you're not wearing a suit. Oh my God, like you're so disrespectful. This kind of thing. Oh, your music's super loud. This is terrible. This is music for dirtbags and dropouts and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And which is, you know, when you talk to someone who lived through that time period. And I'm thinking, like, dude, you were like a teenager in like 1967. Like, why didn't you go check out Hendrix and Zeppelin? You could have been seeing Hendrix at the Fillmore West. Like, what are you doing? Why are you listening to this Glenn Campbell shit? It's like, you were a teenager in 1967. You could have seen the Beatles. I mean, like the Doors, right? All these bands that you could have seen and gone.
Dude,
to
I often
the
feel
Who.
that.
I mean, it's like.
Yeah, I often feel that frustration with my parents because they lived through all the greatest decades of music.
Yeah.
And they could have experienced all of it.
Mine too, man. I'll tell you the same thing. We're going to listen to Kenny Rogers and Glenn Campbell. That's what we're going to be listening to.
Well, I mean, look, Glenn Campbell was a great player.
I'm not crashing his brain, but I'm just like, his music was, you know, it wasn't Hendrix. It wasn't Zeppelin. You know what I mean? It wasn't Sabbath. It wasn't the Who.
It wasn't the great rock gods of the era.
And you could have seen that. But every once in a while, I'll have a dude I'm teaching who's like, you know, maybe 10 years older than me or so. And he's like, oh, yeah, dude, I remember seeing The Day on the Green in like 1980 with like, it was Van Halen, Foreigner, AC/DC, Aerosmith. I was like, fuck you.
Or like the 83.
We're talking about Van Halen, like on Van Halen 2, like when they were still opening, like the second band on the bill. You know,
do you like the 83 US Festival?
Yeah, that's just like you go straight to hell then with all that. Yeah, that would have been a night. It'd been incredible to see that. See Van Halen and the Whiskey back before they were signed or something.
Dude, my mom was listening to Neil Sedaka.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's so weird to me. But so if you look at the early '60s, that was what was considered the image for if you're going to put the band together. A lot of those bands were put together by producers, just because. But if same reason we're talking about with a lot of other bands, which people in the '90s tried to.
I thought they were put together by Tom Hanks, like in That Thing You Do.
Yeah, well, they told that he did all that. People don't know the time traveler that he was. Actually.
Yes.
So it's I guess he has time on his hands between like Splash and.
Oh, wasn't that a band called The Wonders, but they spelled it like the letter one, and so people called them the Oneaters. So it was the same. Yeah. So there you go, everybody. There's your cultural touchstone for that time in history.
But I mean, Image has been from the start of music being an industry. Image has been except. I mean, whether it be '60s, late '60s, you had to have like the weird hair, long kind of hair, like bell bottoms. You had to have like platforms. You had to there's like a look you had to conform to. You had to like headband and weird little glasses. You had to look like you're about ready to pass out. Because you're so wasted. And then in the '70s, it kind of that led into the '70s, and then the '70s they got like more like by the mid '70s, you had like the sort of like people starting to look more heavy metal. They had like the wristbands with like the metal studs.
Well, we got to give Rob Halford credit for a lot of that.
Accept was another band that was kind of spearheading that stuff too.
Sure, Udo Dirkschneider, man.
And then Scorpion started putting like leather. I think when they got past the Uli era and they started getting into like the Schenker. And then
I mean that all came from the S&M stores.
It's true, but
which is great.
Priest had a lot to do with it, and that started happening, and then it became like this like tough kind of look for metal, and then by the '80s it became much more like about big, flamboyant, like over the top.
Well, it's gender bending, which they took from the '70s, and like guys like David Bowie and stuff, Sweet, and Slade.
Yep. Well, there's a lot of glam and sort of English pop influence on those kind of bands too.
Absolutely.
Well, it mixed with like the heaviest, like the heaviness of like Zeppelin and like Deep Purple and stuff like that.
Which is where you want to steal from the British bands because they work harder than American bands.
Well, then
generally
that became the giant image, like huge hair, big flamboyant clothes, flashy everything, basically in the '80s. And then when the '90s was just exactly 180 the degree, it went back to kind of like trying to be like proto-punk sort of mixed with like homeless person.
It's like all the frustrated guitar players from the '60s that hated the '80s guys tried to get their revenge by brainwashing the next generation.
Yeah, that was really cool that they couldn't play.
Yeah,
and that the songs were bad and that they were awful performers. And
right, and they didn't smell good either.
Yeah, exactly. And just stare at your shoes. No, don't look at the audience. Just stare at your shoes. Play the same chord over and over again. And if you're tuned or not doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And then the early 2000s was look at what a freak I am.
Yeah, and then,
you may not know I'm a freak, so I'll tell you I'm a freak.
Yeah, and then by the time like the new wave of American heavy metal came around, it became just like let's just be as heavy as we can and have no melody anywhere. You know what I mean? But shred like crazy, which is awesome. I'm on board with that, but like have no songs. You know what I mean? And
so this is why I like theatrical, like certain theatrical metal, right?
Can you think of a single band who's a theatrical metal band? I mean,
King Diamond.
Oh wait, what? King Diamond, are you kidding me? I can't imagine. Wow, where'd you pull that one from?
So,
I can't.
so like so like Wild World of Arthur Brown back in the '60s, right? He was doing the theatrical,
Well,
like,
Alice Cooper. I mean,
Satan thing, and then Alice Cooper did kind of like the
and Marilyn
Universal
Manson
monster.
was the '90s version of that.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Yeah.
Marilyn Manson brought Satan back
Rob
and was
Zombie, too.
scary.
Yeah.
Right. And Rob Zombie's kind of more on like the Alice Cooper side, kind of
Yeah.
more like Universal monster,
Yeah.
like horror.
Dressing like a zombie when he's literally Rob Zombie. Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
totally. So like that's just kind of all unto it. Like I think that totally still eschews convention. You know what I mean? Like it.
Good word.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. My calendar every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Word,
The
yeah.
day of the word of the day kind of
Yes.
calendar. It's amazing. His vocabulary is growing by leaps and bounds. People. It's amazing.
Yes. So, I just spent some time with ChatGPT before. Yeah.
How's Chat? Is he good?
He's great.
yeah.
He's getting smarter, and he'll be ruling. He'll be our overlord soon enough.
Sweet. That's good. That's
Yes.
He seems like a good dude. Yeah.
That's what we have to say.
Exactly.
Or else- yeah. Yes.
It's like, am I a good dude? Yes, you're a good dude, Chat.
Yes, right. Thank
Yeah.
you, Lord and Savior ChatGPT. Yes. So that's one. So there are some, I guess, images that are. How am I trying to articulate this? They're kind of consistent across the decades, although they still like all have their own twist. I guess that's one thing I like
You mean
about
like the
horror
theatrical,
rock.
the theatrical,
Like
stuff,
theatrical
just different
horror
versions,
rock.
iterations of it. Yep.
Yeah,
well, glams
absolutely.
like that. The kind of grungy kind of things like that. There's bands throughout the years that are like that. You have like the hippies, like there's pseudo hippie, like the Doors. And I see a band like Rival Sons. They have kind of similar image, that kind of hippie.
Yeah,
but,
well, I mean,
but
like
not
the Cars did like the skinny ties
Yeah,
and suits,
that's
just
that's
like
the new
60s
wave,
bands
80s.
did.
Yeah,
So I know
exactly.
they borrow from each other, but like the theatrical horror rock, it's like it exists while everything else. It's always there when other trends change.
You know what's interesting though? I always wonder though is it could like a glam metal band. Obviously Steel Panther, but they really have a wink and a nod to the '80s. They're just kind of like, hey, we're just such an over the top version. But could a band
Well, it's satire.
But could a band legitimately come out and be an '80s glam style band, like a new iteration of that, and be successful? I feel like the stain of the '90s was so bad on the '80s metal that it's even in some people's minds they'll be huge fans of these bands. And yet they'll be embarrassed almost about it. The fact that they're huge fans of those bands.
Well,
I wonder if the stain can ever be overcome from the '90s.
I think that. Well, I mean, you'd have to talk to an 18-year-old about that. I mean, if I could put
I
together.
talk to 18-year-olds literally every day, and
Well-
they're all huge fans.
Well,
of
then
these.
you'd have to talk to them about this specific thing.
No.
So I've got a theory.
middle-aged guys have all the answers. I want you to know.
If I were 18 again, and if I were like young and skinny and ready to start a band, like I really do think doing like a glam style gender bending thing, like in a way that would really upset a certain cohort in the
I
country.
knew that was coming. that's so classic. I don't know.
Like that's what you'd have to, and then make
But you have to be awesome, though. That's the thing.
it would have to be like awesome, like sleaze rock.
Yeah, but it would have to be like great songs, great hooks, great playing.
Yeah, of
just
course.
Everything's top notch, like it was in the '80s.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's what it's got to be. I just wonder, like, have we got enough distance from the grunge thing that we can kind of accept?
I don't
on
think
its own
grunge is really
terms?
relevant. I mean, there's some 90s nostalgia going on.
There's a lot of '90s nostalgia.
Yeah,
There's
which is
all
terrible.
those people who are like, that's basically our generation, is the '90s generation. They're getting middle aged now, so looking back with the fondness of their youth. All
Right,
these,
and dude, I've had a couple of there was a nice run there where I didn't randomly hear any students play any Nirvana stuff.
you're hearing it some more again. Yeah. Well, you know why? Because a lot of the people who are our age who grew up with the grunge thing, they have kids now, and they're introducing them and the Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and Pearl Jam. And
Okay,
stuff like that.
I would. I mean, Stone Temple Pilots were fine. I wouldn't like put them in the same bag as Nirvana.
I think they're pretty terrible, man. I'll be honest with you. I hate the Stone Temple Pilots.
They're not. There are still some interesting. Like Plush is a cool chord progression.
Sure, I'll give you that. Highway Song.
It's better than anything
Their
that
hit
Kurt
singles
Cobain
are
ever played.
pretty okay. I will say their singles are okay, but there's no solos.
mean,
it's not that.
no, I
easy.
agree.
It's like, what the hell?
I mean, the bar is very low.
Yeah, it's better than listening to white noise, I suppose. I'll give them that.
It's better than listening to Lil Wayne.
I don't know, man. Have you heard him play guitar solo?
He does
Holy
rip.
Shit,
Yeah, no,
man.
that's right. That's right.
Holy
He does
God,
rip.
can he play a solo?
Look at him
oh
go.
my God. Yeah. We'll all never be the same
With all the
again.
auto tune, and
That's what music is now, by the way.
So yeah, I know it is all auto tune.
Yeah.
There's I forget what it, there's something else I heard recently. Well, no, never mind. I can't.
Don't give Nirvana that kind of plug. Fuck
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm gonna step back from the ledge on where I was about to go. But, I think if like a young like 4P, like you'd have to do something, like you'd have to seem like fun and dangerous at the same time.
Like Van Halen. Like classic Van Halen. Yeah.
I don't know if classic Van Halen ever felt dangerous. Did it feel dangerous?
We talked about this on the podcast before. Yeah, like Roth was like out of control, and
Yeah, okay, I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess
him and
David Lee
Eddie
Roth
hate
brought
each
that.
other and stuff, and it was just sort of
Sorry, when you mentioned Van Halen, I just immediately focus almost entirely on Eddie initially.
Well, because of course,
as
everyone else did,
as
too,
everyone
but,
should.
Yeah,
Yes, but
they were kind of fun and dangerous. They're kind of. I think it was dangerous in like a sexual like kind of way, like okay, like if you had a daughter, like they might totally fuck your daughter. That kind of thing. That's kind of like what it would be like, you know what I mean? Or your wife.
So if
like
a
the old
band,
Scorpions thing, like so like lock up your wives, wake up your daughters. The Van Halen's coming to town.
Yeah.
Or the Scorpions in their prime. You know what I mean?
Hello, we're Scorpions.
Yeah,
Los
so-
Sacramento.
But that's the dangerous
Yeah.
part. It's not like they're like, oh, they might get involved in a shooting or something. It was more like they'll totally fuck your wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. So
That
there
kind of
needs to
thing.
be something like the new version of that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like whatever it is to make it.
I thought the Darkness was going to be that when they came out. I thought, oh, maybe this
Yeah.
band's going to be that, but it was just too early. It was too close to the grunge thing. And I think.
I mean, they were pretty damn close though.
They're
Yeah,
good.
that's a good example, dude. The Darkness is fucking. I saw the Darknesses last year.
Yeah, they're a good band. I don't have any problems with Darkness. I feel like Steel Panther is such a great band. But that being said, it's such on the comedy side. It's so clearly a comedy / satire / wink. We love the '80s, but we're going to make fun of the '80s
Right.
kind of thing. Because I think that was their secret sauce. Because if they just come out being like legitimately just like an '80s style band,
Right.
it'd be like this weird sort of thing.
Well, they're too old to do that, right? I
Yeah.
think the key component is you've got to be young,
yeah, you got to be like 20. Yeah.
tops.
Yeah.
right.
And great. Yeah.
Like the window closes when you're like 23.
Wow, really? Is
23
it
or
that,
24, I think, yeah.
Well, to be like the new thing, I agree with
Yeah,
that.
it's a youth obsessed culture,
Yeah.
man. But the stuff that
That's right. Selena Gomez is super old now. So it's
Is she?
Yeah, oh yeah. She's like 30,
Well, good
like
for her.
32 or something like that. I mean, it's
Oh,
like
yeah, so she's
freaking
completely irrelevant
Game over,
now.
man. Yeah, exactly.
So that's part. Well, so that's part of the image, right? Whatever
Yeah.
the image is, it's got to be youth oriented,
Yep.
right? So, there was a band called the Struts that were
Yep.
out for a
I
little
remember the
bit.
Struts. Yep. Pretty good band.
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't think the songs were good enough.
No, that's the problem with all
That's
those
the
bands.
problem.
There's a lot of even like Greta Van Fleet. They've got a cool image. They got a kind of a cool sound.
But they sound too much like Led Zeppelin.
and they don't
so they're
have
gonna
good
get
enough
pegged with
songs.
that.
Their songs
Yeah.
they don't have more than like one or two good songs.
They're
That's-
unmemorable.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to have the songs too. You
Well,
can't
and to be fair, they're in a media environment where there's no common culture. So
that's true. Yeah, when we say there's no common
they're
culture,
fighting against all of that. you
well,
know?
all of us who make content, whether it be podcasts or music, whatever, which we both do all that.
Yeah.
You're fighting that. There is no common culture.
Yeah, there's no Ed Sullivan show
Yeah.
where someone's going to make their debut. and
There's
change
no
the world.
4
Yeah.
outlets to get music out to people. There's like 40 million outlets to get things, and then people only pay attention to like 6 of them each.
That's right.
So you're basically you're living in this world where you're screaming at the top of your lungs, and you can only be heard in your little cave that you're living in. You know what I mean? And
This sounds like trying to give advice to my girlfriend. Thank you for listening to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. Please make sure to like, rate, and subscribe. Now back to the show.
screaming in a cave. What? Okay.
Yes, I actually, her friend came over the other day, and we haven't seen like one of her older friends in quite some time, and that was the friend who I used to launder my advice through.
Okay.
Yeah,
like this offshore company you just sent the
right.
emails through. And
I just have like a shell company that I launder.
in the Caymans,
Yeah, so I had to recruit her other friend that she skates with.
Okay.
I just said, hey, listen, I need to launder my advice through you so that she'll listen to me.
Yep. And
that's an important.
in it for you if you do it. And,
Yeah,
Makes
guys out there, that's an important relationship strategy.
sense. Yes, big friends with the friends, and then use those friends' advice to get your ideas across. That
Yes,
makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah, that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yes, thank you for listening to Rock Guitar Confidential.
Yes, exactly.
For your relationship advice, yeah.
But so I guess the point I'm trying to make, and we're making with this entire podcast, is that image is such an important part. It actually isn't just like a side part; it's a main part. And then as a musician, that'll be really a thing that determines the gatekeeping, and that you're able to kind of, if you look at the YouTubers, a lot of and this is something that I got to be honest, this drives me completely insane, but a lot of the most successful guitar YouTubers have got like a wacky shtick or something that's kind of the thing that they do that's like their wackiness, and it's like, the fact that gets people to stop and pay attention just pisses me off to no end. It's
dude, this trend is, I don't know so maybe I don't understand the image aspect of this, but, like thumbnails always pop up on my YouTube of so-and-so plays cover of this song, and it's just a bedroom YouTuber.
Yeah. Or it's like a super hot girl in like a bikini playing like a Judas Priest song or something. I'm like, going, okay,
all right, well,
I can see the advantage of that.
I can see. Well, I mean,
it's at the same time though. Like, I don't need to see like super hot girl.
I mean, if somebody wants to see super hot, I mean, dude, it's the internet.
I get it, but it's like. Of course, the only reason anyone's going to stop and watch is because she's wearing a bikini. Like, she's not just wearing like a t-shirt and jeans.
Right, but I mean, like, why waste time doing that? I mean,
I get it.
There's the internet.
But this is what I'm trying to say, though. Like, that if you don't have that kind of hook, and for other people, it's like what you're saying, like, oh my God, this is the one secret to great, two-handed tapping solos, or Eddie Van Halen wishes he could do this, or something. Like, there's just.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like, Joe Blow plays cover of 2 Minutes to Midnight by Iron Maiden. And it's just a dude in his bedroom playing the song.
Well, that's what guitar players are now. They're dudes in their bedrooms. You know what I mean? That's
like, that's so fucking lame.
It is not cool. Not at all. I agree. I totally agree. It's just, but that's where we are at this point, and I think it's partially because guitar, as far as currency culturally, is pretty much at a low point. And I think that people are not. I think one thing that the side product of a very, very short attention span is that people really don't ever like fully invest in anything. They just sort of just glance over things. So even if you have all the substance, like, you just dig a little deeper, people don't go deeper. You know what I mean? It's like you got to be on that top little 2 centimeters of the strata for them to actually be able to pay attention to it at all, which is why image is the thing that matters, and that's why there's so much attention farming going on. Everyone's just trying to find some hooky, wacky, kooky image to make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. The YouTube cover band person, like, they have no image. Maybe it's a backlash. I don't know. But I mean, I still don't really care about hearing someone play someone else's songs.
I feel like the key, I mean, this is probably
broadly,
this is probably bad advice, but like, just be authentic, just be who you are. You know what I mean? Then don't worry about trying to be anything, just be what you are. And that, because if you're trying to find some, or like cultivate some image or something like that, eventually it's going to come around that that's not really what you are. You're totally trying to put on the front to be this other thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to be something inevitably.
That's off-putting.
Inevitably, yes. Will come out. Whether one way or the other. You know what I mean? And so authenticity is the key. And then
you can still have that authenticity even if you're doing like a highly theatric thing, right?
Yeah, like, as long as it's true to what you are.
Right. Absolutely, like Rob Zombie loves horror.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that for even 1 second. Right. Yep. King Diamond loves Satan. I don't. King Diamond is authentic.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he does what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, he finds the occult fascinating and fun, and I appreciate that.
Now, there's one thing I wanted to bring this conversation towards. Now that we've kind of laid out that image is super important, is the bands that have gotten kind of lambasted as being all image and no substance, who actually did have the goods. The first one out the gate in my mind would be Whitesnake. That's a band that everyone kind of thinks
had the goods.
For sure, had the goods. Holy shit, did they have the goods? You know what I mean? That's a band that way had the goods in terms of playing and songs and all that stuff.
Dude, follow the careers of any of the people who've ever been in Whitesnake, and that'll open you up to so much awesome music.
It's totally true.
Just pick one member off of one album or tour, and then just listen to everything else that one person was on, and you can thank me later.
Another one that would pull up is that's kind of seen as being an image-based person is Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix is like almost more famous now as an icon than as a guitar player.
Absolutely.
But if you dig into his guitar playing, holy shit, this dude did this in a like 4-year period. You know what I mean? It's insane what his body of work is for so short of a recording career.
That's right.
It's incredible. So I mean, that's someone who's like imaged, because it's just like, especially like the punk thing was like, well, it's not about image, it's about being real or something like that, which is bullshit, because that was
all about
that
image,
was their image. You know what I mean? So that to me skewers that. Now the band I will go down swinging for till the end of time, that I think is the biggest victim of this
Britney
ever.
Fox.
No, those guys too. Winger.
Yeah.
Winger's the band that I think got lambasted as, oh, look at this guy, this lead singer with the perfect stubble, and there's all these like poodle hair dudes.
Perfect stubble.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like, well, dude, listen to the music. Listen to what everyone in that band is excellent at.
Yeah, I mean, they were about being good at music.
Yeah, that's the main thing they were about.
And you know what? Maybe they didn't do the image thing quite so well.
Well, I think they just
Right.
kind of did what everyone else did at that time period. Like,
Yeah.
but they also had a dude who's a singer who was like ridiculously good looking, like just much like Zoolander. He was like really, really, really ridiculously good looking. And I think that was kind of off putting to a lot of.
Yes, his original backing band like died in a gas station explosion.
Yeah, so, no one really knows exactly how.
Yeah, they were listening to "Wake Me Up When You
unknown.
Go Go."
Yeah, exactly.
You
And then
know,
next thing
by
you know,
Wham, and then they had a
he was the
gasoline
only one
fight.
left. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like-
exactly.
he's like, people need to understand that you could die even if you're really, 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 really good looking.
Yes, that's right. So I mean, Winger got it. All those bands
They were
got
to
it.
me
but
the
they were
band
awesome.
that got screwed over the most. You know what I mean?
And then the immediate backlash was, band with no image and no musical skills.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
real, man. It's
Right.
it's real. It's relatable. I can't believe. I remember talking to the guy who owned Northridge once, and he said that the '80s were the worst time for a guitar store.
That's stupid.
Because
That's fucking stupid.
everyone was so intimidated by all the great guitar playing. It's like,
Wrong.
Dude, I could not be more baffled by that take. I'm like, are you kidding me? That was like when you wanted to play guitar.
I mean, that's just
You know?
completely out of touch.
Well, he ran a music store since the '70s, so I think it's one of those things where he kind of saw the Van Halen thing as a bad thing. It became like this elitism sort of. You had to be like this elite player to want to go play guitar, which I'm like, that's a good thing. We should be wanting to raise the bar.
You know,
what I
he
mean?
must have just been losing business to Skips that whole time.
Probably was.
Probably was.
I mean, but it wasn't even just that. It was just it was just his aesthetic. He wasn't down with like the shredding guitar stuff. He liked like something.
Of course, because
he's
he
more
would
of
have been a 60s, 70s
more of
guy.
a blues guy, blues rock kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I've never understood that. Like, I remember being a kid and not getting like why these like old dudes didn't like the shredding metal in the '80s. I'm like, this is so great. This is like what you like, but better and new.
Well, I mean, you know what? When you're older, you've got a job and responsibilities and stuff, and so you can't woodshed for 12 hours a day usually, like most older people, most middle-aged people.
I will say this: if you
mean?
really want to, you can find time. You can.
No, I agree. You can find. I mean, literally, like you can't spend 12 hours a day woodshedding because you have a 9 to 5 job.
No, but you probably could do 2 hours.
Yeah, no, you totally could.
Yeah,
it's just that just means you have to. Like progress would then be slower in comparison.
Yeah, but if you do 2 hours a day and you do it every day,
Yeah, totally.
In like 6-8 months, you'll be fucking awesome. You'll be a great player. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah, you just got to want it. And I don't think we should be like congratulating people on their lazy choices.
No, I'm not
You know what I mean?
congratulating. That's not what I'm trying to get.
Fuck
into,
those guys.
I'm just trying to get. I'm just trying to get into the head of the guy you're talking about and why they might feel frustration. It's like, oh shit, I have to keep working to get better.
Yeah,
But
you should do that anyway.
I mean, you should do that
I mean,
anyway. Dude, I'm just hyphypothesizing
Okay,
over
so
here.
we're not okay.
I'm not actually endorsing
You're
that
doing
point
like
of view.
the King Diamond's like advocate. I get it.
Yeah. Devil's advocate. Yes, I'm just trying to understand the mindset.
But I think that kind of when the grunge thing happened, a lot of those kind of people really had a sigh. We actually remember Brad Twinsky had the same kind of thought. They had a sigh of relief that now they could actually just go suck again and not feel bad about sucking. You know
Did
what
Brad
I mean?
Twinsky say that?
Yeah, and we had a whole podcast. We talked about why Brad Twinsky, why
No,
trying to make the grunge thing not seem so terrible. You know what I mean? It's
Oh no! When we talked, okay, yeah.
remember he was saying like, oh, all these people say we can just not have to spend hours learning Sweetbar pages.
Oh
We
yeah,
can,
right,
like, what
yeah.
a fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's fucking lame.
I mean, I love Brad Twinsky, but that's a stupid ass comment. But
Agreed.
But a lot of those '80s bands got that sort of, and frankly, a lot of the late '70s bands too. How it was all about the image, as if the '90s bands weren't all about the image.
So
too,
then here's the crux of the matter. Staying with today's topic, though, is that like you could be a dude who could sweep the shit out of arpeggios and be awesome, right?
Yep.
But if you didn't have the look,
Yep.
it's like Sean Lane.
Yeah. Well, he's still very successful considering for what he does.
Well,
you know what I mean?
relatively successful, but he had some health problems. He put on a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
Which
And he was also
that wasn't his fault.
A musician's musician too. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Dream Theater is an interesting one to me because Dream Theater is a band that is just all about the music, but they still had a good enough image. They kind of fit in enough in like the early '90s that they kind of had that sort of metal-y kind of European, almost look European.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that.
Thing.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of is what got them in the door. And then they had such a unique sound, and they just kind of gradually build up their own fan base.
I mean, they're kind of proggy, so that's another genre. I mean, just like,
but they're like not prog like rock. They're prog metal.
Yeah,
and they had that. They had as much Metallica as they did like Genesis in their music. You know what I mean? Which is why they're so successful. I think. And mixed with that with some Yngwie. Jennifer Hansen.
definitely.
I think that's kind of what it was.
Agreed. So there's always, so I guess that's why I like genres like that, because they're constant.
Yeah. Well, it's a substance as much as image.
Yep,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? And I think that's something that I kind of, and when I look at Van Halen, I think the same thing. Like Van Halen is substance as much as image. As great as the image was and as flashy and incredible, the music was just as good. It lived up to that as well.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? And Hendrix, same thing. Like music was just as good as the image, if not more. You know what I mean? And I think when I look at bands that are totally on the image, most of like modern pop music is just 99.9%.
Well, it's all image and it's all highly produced, like
and it's like algorithm
garbage.
Yeah, you know
right.
what I mean. So, and I look at that. And that's why I have such disdain for it. It's because like you should try and bring equal parts, image to that. You can be maybe 60-40 either way, and you'll be probably pretty successful. But you can't be like no substance. You know what I mean? It's got to be there. You know what I mean? And that's actually really seeping into every aspect of our lives if you think about it now. Like, look at comedy. Like I've looked at a lot of comics recently who are like the new up and coming guys.
Like who?
Oh, I can't even remember the names, but I remember like once in a while I'll peruse down the rabbit hole of like looking at like
go through like the Netflix
Comedy Store or something like
yeah.
that, and like some of the stuff that people just young comics. Some of them are pretty good, but most of them are it's all like their image and like sort of their attitude they're trying to sell the jokes with rather than just having a great joke. Does that make sense? And then you look at like YouTube, it's the same thing. It's all just like, hey, look at my wacky, kooky, weird thing that I'm doing. Oh my God, I'm so weird.
That's kind of how Jim Carrey was. That's why I never really, I think Jim Carrey's a great human being.
He's an awesome actor too.
And he's a great dramatic actor. Yep. He's a dude I'd like to have a beer with.
But he's not a comic though. You know what I mean?
He was a comic.
Yeah, but he wasn't great. I mean,
he wasn't great because he was just, I'm going to make this funny face.
Yeah, exactly.
And that to me just isn't funny.
But there's a lot of great comics who have great, material who are.
Ooh, we got to have Brian Posehn on the program sometime.
Love to have him on.
That would be a perfect guy to have on the program.
But I feel like it can't be just the image. The image got to be there. You have to have some image that's sort of like your thumbnail. That's what you are. But you also need to have the goods too. Whether that be a YouTube channel or television shows. Like how much television shows are just like, look at this catty girls fighting over like money.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
what's become of MTV?
Well, just television in general. You know what I mean? It's just such nonsense. You know what I mean? I feel like it's because everyone's doing the attention farming. It's like there's everyone's got so much hitting them at once. They just anything they can have a little toehold of someone stop for a second is what the people are fighting to do. You know what I mean? And I just don't think that's healthy for culture. I can't imagine that it is. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not that way, and I always wonder, like, how weird am I? Like, am I really way out there on an island?
No, no, not at all. I mean, we know that there's other people out there like us.
Yeah, exactly.
And, this is our lifeboat for those people.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone get in.
Everyone hop in.
We'll try and just like block out all the nonsense if we can. But
so speaking of nonsense. So my buddy, your
buddy,
my buddy John, my buddy John sent me the best meme, and it was,
oh no,
and it was like the thrust of. I'd have to actually like find it. It was a picture of the capo wall at Guitar Satan.
Oh good lord,
and like it's empty because Oasis announced their reunion, so all the capos are gone.
Oh god.
And I'm just thinking, like, dude, okay, they had one hit song, they had like 1.5 hit songs, right? There's Wonderwall, and then there's that other one.
What an aficionado of Oasis you are.
But the thing I remember most about Oasis is how like these two shitty brothers kept saying they were the second coming of the Beatles.
Yeah.
And then there was backlash of people saying like, fuck you, you're not the Beatles. And then they beat each other up and broke up.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, who's fired up about the Oasis reunion? Like, who
more
besides?
They're not you and me.
Who are those people? Like, who besides the Gallagher brothers?
They
who
had to
is excited
about this? They had to make a hard
this?
decision between the new J-Lo tour and the Oasis tour, so they had to figure out where's my hard-earned dollars going to go. You know what I mean?
Oh man, why?
Hey, do you think the Gallagher brothers will actually tell us who they are now? I kind of want to know.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The only Gallagher I'm interested in is the guy who smashed watermelons.
Here we go. GC announces capo shortage following Oasis reunion announcement.
You're good, but hopefully they all can like get on like a Zeppelin somewhere all together, the fans and the band, and then it'll go down over the Atlantic somewhere.
And then we'll have a new awesome album cover for a band that doesn't suck.
Yeah, exactly. I just that'd be my dream. Or like they have everyone get all the Oasis fans in one stadium and then have a Zeppelin oversight this person in flames.
Or that we
stadium.
could do like a Clockwork Orange thing where we peel all their eyelids back with like forks and make them just watch like 10 hours of Van Halen.
Yeah, and then say this is what actual music is. Zeppelin, Van Halen, like the back and
forth. Sure, yeah, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, man. That would be that. Hey, you know what? That might be a thing.
That it should be a thing. That's like we should call it a spa. It's a day spa. I mean, we'll open up your open your sinuses. We'll make sure we exfoliate your face. With the forks opening your eyes.
Yes, exactly.
You know how that works, Jim. It'll de-age you 20 years. So
I don't know. I just don't get it.
I didn't get Oasis when they came out, so
no,
I don't understand it now. It's just
they were trying to be the second coming of the Beatles because the whole grunge apocalypse was on the shoulders of like frustrated old 60s dudes.
I think that like everyone just kind of lost their way in what was good or bad, and it became like
as well.
It's almost like the musical equivalent of moral relevancy. It's like or moral equivalency. It's like okay, this is terrible. So who even knows what's terrible or good anymore? It's kind of like, who
the
are you
false
to say?
Dichotomy.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Like, who's to say everything's gray? It's like, well, no, those guys totally suck. You know what I mean? It's like I don't. It's not. I was at the time. I remember thinking like, this is just not for me. It's not music for me. And I'm glad someone else's day is made brighter by this. It's not. I don't get it. It's not for me. You know what I mean? And
depends on who that person is who's having a brighter day. I mean, if it's like some like serial killer,
wouldn't you be on board with that then? Come on.
Well, no, I don't want them to have a brighter day. I want them to have a worse day.
I don't get it. I don't get it either, man. But I didn't get the Smashing Pumpkins. I didn't get anything for about 15 years.
Smashing Pumpkins has some good songs. I mean, Corgan's like a kid who grew up on the metal, and
and they never got really good enough to play it. So you kind of
he did this other thing, but it's not as egregious as other bands.
I really think they're terrible. I'm not a fan of Smashing Pumpkins.
We'll have to depart. I don't think they're as terrible.
Yeah, I don't know.
There are some Smashing Pumpkins songs that I like.
Oh wow, okay. What a horrible admission on your part. Oh my God.
There are some that I think are good.
I'm glad that you feel safe enough in this space to talk this way, though. That's actually
I don't think they're perfect, but I wouldn't. It's like if it came on the radio, I wouldn't rush to change the channel.
I would
just keep driving.
Put on some Rush. That's what I would do.
Putting on some Rush would be great, but if I'm pulling up to like a stop sign and if I have to keep my hands on the steering wheel and look both ways, I'm not gonna like.
You are a stickler for traffic rules.
I'm not gonna. Sure. Well, yeah, that's right. That's the ticket. Sure. Yes, Scott, I am.
Always signal at least 100 yards before a turn.
Yeah.
It's
every single time.
Every time.
Without, in case any CHP are listening to our program, every single time.
That's so true. He is the guy that you want to have driving the car. That's for sure. Yeah.
So in terms of image, right? That period of time was it's all authentic and we don't have an image. Well, bullshit. You do have an image. Your image is not.
If you choose not to make a choice, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
You still have made a choice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Neil Peart understood.
Yeah.
So
many things actually. That's one.
Now, I'm not sure how this folds into it, but
wait, does it sevenfold into it?
No, it's eightfold. Yes, it folds. It folds eightfold.
Oh, okay, good.
There's a lot of folding.
Does Ben fold eightfold?
You keep felding and felding. It's a complete disaster. I need large bread. Yes. So, dude, see how quickly that went to Spinal Tap?
Everything should.
As it should.
Yeah, exactly.
All roads should lead to Spinal Tap.
Exactly.
One thing I'm
not Spinal Tap Road. That doesn't lead to Spinal Tap. That's weird.
Yes.
I wonder why that happened.
So now I think about this from time to time. Part of that image is charisma.
Yeah.
Right.
I think authentic charisma, though. You can't like pretend your way to that. You know what I mean? That's why Lady Gaga is so authentic. Lady Gaga is just what she is. That is not
right. Well, she has charisma, but she's also immensely talented.
Yeah, exactly. But that's her just being authentic. So you can't fake that shit. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
That's something you can't manufacture charisma if you don't have it. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
I totally agree with that. I'm starting to derail.
No, that's okay. And I mean, most of the. I think to be like a good rock guitar teacher, like you kind of have to have some like natural charisma. Like I don't think being an introvert would work out very well.
I don't think anything that's related to dealing with the public day in day out, introversion is not a good thing. You have to be an outgoing person. I think one of the interesting things about like teaching guitar is you have to be able to sit in a room with somebody you've never met before, size them up, on an EQ level, like how they.
You have to evaluate them on a 10-point scale.
Yeah, but like what does this person need from me? What is this person's personality?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me that they need me to be this or this. You know what I mean? And you have to sort of on the fly address that with how you go about your teaching. You're still going to teach the same material either way.
Right.
It's just how does this person need me to be when I'm presenting this stuff to them? Do they need me to be very gentle and very slow and sort of not being jokey with them, or do they need me to be like more over the top and entertaining? Is that the kind? Are they kind of?
You just said it, entertaining, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to, one thing that I think all the people who grew up like with the glory of 80s rock, like I think we're all entertainers to a degree.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm grateful for because it was a lot of fun, and I like sharing that fun.
That
with
was
my
the bar
students.
too. Back then,
yeah, it was the bar.
It wasn't good enough to be great. You had to be great and flashy. You
had to be entertaining, and you had to be able to engage with an audience, right?
Yep.
So
exactly.
It wasn't just good enough to.
It
be
wasn't
awesome
introversion.
guitar.
It was extroversion. It was basically
Correct.
like expressing this out. You know what I mean? Which is why the grunge scene was so one of the many reasons it's so horribly depressing, because it was very inside music. You know what I mean? It wasn't like trying to push it out. You know what I mean?
It wasn't pushing that baby out.
It wasn't pinching out a deuce.
It wasn't pinching. It didn't pinch the loaf. Had it pinched the loaf, it still would have been a deuce.
Yes,
but
they did drop the deuce, unfortunately. That's very sad to say. But so I guess we're trying to wrap up our thoughts on this is that image is inextricably woven into all music. Rock is not accepted from that. You have to, even if you have an image that I'm just an unwashed homeless person, that's still your image. You know what I mean? And you still have to kind of have music that fits that accordingly and stuff like that. And I think that's it's something I've always struggled with that myself, because I always thought I hate innately. I just hate bullshit. I just do. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, no bullshit is not an image per se.
And what's interesting, I think most people would say that they hate bullshit, but like some of those people secretly love bullshit.
Yeah, it's true. To go home and smearing themselves in bullshit, cream, and eating bullshit sandwiches.
It's kind of like I'm always like I hate it when people say I'm brutally honest. Oh, shut up.
Also, why are you telling me this? I don't.
Yeah, that's a fucking stupid.
You know what I
thing
hate
to
too
say.
is like, do you want to know the truth? I'm like, yeah, always. Like, well, were you not telling me the truth before?
Right.
It's like,
honestly. Wait, were you gonna lie to me before?
Yeah. Was this whole thing up to this point all been lies? Is this the only time you're telling me the truth? I mean, it's like. You shouldn't have to say that. That should be automatic. Of course, you're going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Like, my God, anyway.
So I think there's a certain, and that's one thing I love about my life is that I've got so many friends who are, like you, right? Who are charismatic musicians. I mean, we're fun people to hang around. God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
And like all the rest of our musician friends are.
I mean, most musicians in general. There's a thing that's common to musicians. There's like a sort of like. I don't know what it is. It's like an openness, I want to say, about sort of wanting to like explore and there's a commonality amongst all musicians, even drummers. I will say they're even a part of that.
Musicians and drummers.
Yeah, and maybe bass players.
And bass
sort
players.
of have it like an adjacent, kind of to that.
I guess bass is like the instrument if you are just totally introverted.
Maybe.
And
Don't
maybe that's
Steve
the one to go
Harris
to. Yeah, well, Steve Harris and Lemmy Kilmister are exceptions. But I mean, they played bass like a guitar.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
so it's sort of a different thing. I mean, I don't blame
Geddy
them.
Lee, that's another one. He's an amazing bass player.
Glenn
Hughes. I mean, Glenn Hughes in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there's a new track out by Tony Iommi and Glenn Hughes.
I gotta hear this. Holy crap,
it's called Dopamine.
Oh, very cool.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're guys in their 70s.
Glenn Hughes sounds fucking great.
Yeah, he hasn't changed at all. He sounds exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It sounds more Glenn Hughes than it sounds Tony Iommi.
Yeah, I can see that.
I still want like Haunted Castles and fucking Demons.
We know what probably happened. I bet Glenn probably wrote the tune, and then like, let's bring Tony in to play guitars. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we'll make.
Yeah, Tony's knocking out some power chords. And
speaking of Glenn Hughes,
cool.
the Dead Daisies. I know that he's not in that band anymore, but he was in that band for a while. I just heard some of the new Dead Daisies stuff. It's freaking killer, man.
I'm sure it's great.
Doug Aldrich,
Dude, Doug Aldrich,
John Corabi on vocals.
Nice.
It's really good.
John Corabi's such a like Swiss Army like rock band frontman
He's
guy.
great. I mean,
Yeah, he's great.
I've heard a couple of the tunes off the new record, and they fucking kick ass. They're great. I mean,
Nice.
I was like, see, this is what young. I want to like take this and make everyone who's like 18, like I want to put earbuds in and say, listen to this.
So, if I were 18 again, right? I think like a band who's got an image like Twisted Sister, but like the edge of like Motley Crue and the Rolling Stones, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Or maybe capture some of that, the sleaze of like
Rat.
Guns N' Roses, right?
Rat's the rock band ever, man.
Rat was again Brittany Fox, man. I think they had some good shit going on. Just if the musicianship came up a little bit,
They weren't Warren DeMartini in that band. That's the thing that And
dude, put Warren DeMartini and Brittany Fox, and then like make them all like 18 years
I'll
old.
go one up, like put him and Jakey Lee both in Brittany Fox.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. I think that's great.
That'd be my fucking favorite band of all time.
There we go. So then, like, get some young people to go do something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like people in that age group, I think, are more enamored with Blink 182.
Well, also people in
And
that
Green
age group would
Day.
be more likely to start a YouTube channel where they just like trade back and forth and do something wacky and
Yes.
contests where they give away things and things like, you know what I mean, rather than start a rock band.
And then there's some like some bizarre. Again, I've got a friend, a former student and friend who does this like indie folk thing.
Yeah, you told me about this.
Which, I just don't. I mean, I appreciate some of the like they did a photo shoot where it was like guitar player and horn player inside an abandoned grain silo.
Okay.
So
just cause. Okay.
Like so there's like an absurdist like element to it, but it's absurdist. It's not, which is fine because I love absurdity. It's hilarious.
Yep.
But for like image, like I'd want to be actively trying to piss off certain people.
Well, you know what is funny though is I don't blame the young people for just to do a YouTube channel or start a Twitch channel or something like that because
Low overhead.
Well, not just low overhead. That's like where people are. That's what people do now.
Yeah.
Like, forming a rock band and go out and playing clubs is what people did when we were kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not the thing the kids do now. So it's almost like, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start a newspaper. It's perfect.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm
Right.
gonna start.
I'm gonna hand out flyers for my vaudeville review.
I'm gonna start a Pony Express. That's what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? It's like not something that is new. I got restaurants. That's where the money is.
Dude, I hear the piano player over at the Silent Pictures really shreds.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them for doing that because that's where the music is now. It makes me so immensely and just irrevocably sad to know that that's where it's happened. But that's what it is. You can't change the times you live in. You know what I mean? So
it's like all gods die.
well, no, Zeus. Come on, man. Zeus is forever.
He did show up in God of War Ragnarok. So
And-
Zeus has come back in video game form.
Maybe Odin. That's another one.
Odin.
Yeah.
So remember the documentary? Dude, every time you mention Odin. So in Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years.
Yeah,
like, remember that
classic.
documentary?
Isn't that the one where Chris Holmes is like drunk in the pool? Or
Yeah,
whatever?
it's the one where Chris Holmes is getting wasted. Chris Holmes' mom is on a lawn chair by the pool, and he's in like a floaty chair, just like drinking an entire handle of Smirnoff.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that
Good
same,
times in the decline of Western civilization.
Oh yeah. Speaking of like shock horror rock, Lizzie Borden, man, everyone go out and listen to Lizzie Borden.
Lizzie
They're
Borden's
fucking great.
Yeah, they're great. Joe Holmes was in that band.
That's right.
Yep.
So was local product Ira Black.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And now Ira's out touring with Bullet Boys with our buddy Brad Lang. Shout
that's
out to
cool.
those guys. They're
Is,
awesome. Love those guys.
Is Mick Sweet is not in that band anymore?
Mick Suede has not been in the band for a long time. I think Mick Suede has showed up for the King Cobra reunion for
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
for like 5 minutes.
Him and Carmine were yeah.
Which I listened to some of the new King Cobra stuff. Well, dude, and talk about imaging. They did a music video that was all kind of like digital green screen and stuff, and I thought that was just kind of a cheap mistake.
Yeah.
And you know what? That kind of put me off. I mean, the tune's okay, but
I think that's the problem with that. Is it's okay. It's not great. It's like okay, it's fine. That's cool,
I mean, that first King Cobra album is fucking awesome. Actually, King Cobra 3 is really good too. The one that Jeff Northrop's on.
Which is the one that had oh my god, the singer
Mark Free.
No.
Marcy Free.
No, isn't there? They got
Johnny Edwards.
No, the newest one had a different.
I'm shit. I don't know now.
I can't believe I'm spacing on.
I just ran out of King Cobra singers.
No, oh my god, I'm spacing on the name of the singer. I thought he's been in a lot of different bands.
He did the Las Vegas thing. Rough Cut guy.
Yeah,
Paul Shortino.
Paul Shortino. Yeah, exactly.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, we got him. So, of course, I can't get my brain to think of Paul Shortino. Of course, I can't.
So okay, I had to click through a few files to get to that one.
But I mean, that's the image is that has an image. It's not a good image. It's an image of like way past their prime guys.
It just to me it just looked cheap.
Yeah, but I
just don't like stuff that looks cheap.
Everything about it looks cheap. It was like the songs are cheap, and
I mean it has to be cheap. Oh, you know what? Carlos Cavazzo's in the band now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's also a great guitar player. But
underrated player. Yeah, absolutely. So
I'll argue that the best Quiet Riot stuff was the stuff that Carlos played on. So,
yeah,
I mean,
the songs were better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So Alec, as you get older, I mean, I think it always matters how you present yourself, but man, I don't like cheap looking stuff. Right? That's part of my beef with like the Star Wars prequels.
All right. On that happy note, we start wrapping up. Thank you guys so much.
I got one dig in.
Listening to the Rock Guitar Confidential podcast with Brian and Scott. Please make sure to check out our website at www.xagesband.com.
Here, let me help out with that. It's www.exagesband.com.
And you will find links to our social media, so please follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook, and send us fun, nice messages if you have time. And please make sure to rate and subscribe this podcast, and subscribe again if you didn't already subscribe. I think you can keep subscribing as many times as you want, right? Just over and over again.
You just subscribe over and over
again. Yeah.
Set up a bot and then
just let it go.
A subscription bot.
Our subscriptions will be just crazy off the charts, which is what we want. So,
all right.
And we will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to Rock Guitar Confidential podcast. See ya.
Peace.